There have been some exciting board game announcements in the last couple of weeks, and we're here to highlight a few of them for you, starting off with what I think is the biggest.
A little bit during Gen Con and leading up a little afterwards, Stonemaier Games are leaving a little bit of breadcrumbs for what their new game's going to be. They have finally announced it. It's titled Tapestry. This game, this one designed by Jamie Stegmaier, the civilization building game where you will actually be starting from the beginning of humanity and building up your civilization, earning tapestries, which will in the end tell you a unique story for how your civilization will work. You'll be going up in certain tracks. You can either go all in on one, such as science and warfare, or try to take a more balanced approach. There's also going to be building stuff. It was compared to, they said, if you liked Feast for Odin or Russian Railroads, that you'll like this game. So it sounds like a very heavy, interesting game of building. I mean, Wingspan was already extremely popular, so you could already sign up for emails for when the pre-orders start sometime in September.
Vampire the Masquerade is an extremely popular franchise, started its life out as a tabletop role-playing game, has since spread out to the world of video games and beyond, and now Renegade Game Studios has announced that they will be designing and releasing an expandable card game based on Vampire the Masquerade. There is very little information released as of yet. It is set to be released in 2020 at Gen Con, if the little teaser video that they put out is anything to go by. But this is going to be definitely an interesting release. We don't see too many expandable card games from that many publishers outside of course, Fantasy Flight. And this being a hot property, we just got a new legacy version of the game that was being shown off at Gen Con this year. It will definitely be something to look at and find out how they take this and see how much this property continues to grow and spread to different genres.
Pandasaurus Games made two announcements. First one being Wayfinders. This is a game where you're actually going to be sort of building up a path using planes. You're actually flying to islands and scouting them out, seeing all these different views. So you're going to have to get the resources though from your hangars. So you're going to have to send the worker to hangars to get resources to fly to different islands that have different climates and such. So you need to make sure you have the right resources in order to make it to the different islands. Wayfinders is slated for a late October release. Their other game, which is a little smaller, is titled Silver and Gold. It's actually a flip and write game where you have a deck of cards and you're going to be flipping cards out that have a little grid on them and you'll be writing on them, I believe with a dry erase marker so that this isn't a legacy game, in order as many patterns as quickly as possible in order to hit the next card. It's all about digging for treasure with the next monster spot, hopefully getting a lot of gold and silver, or I guess in this case, silver and gold. This is slated for a November release.
And Grande has announced a new deluxe edition of Puerto Rico that is coming out very shortly. It's going to be released August 20th. This is a version of the game that includes 2 expansions plus some updated artwork, some of which you may have seen in the previously released Anniversary Edition. However, whereas that was a limited release, this one is slated to be in print for the foreseeable future. So if you're a fan of Puerto Rico, it's this classic Euro game of gathering resources, shipping out different crops, trying to get the most points, of course. And if you don't already have the original or its expansions, this could be a good way for you to jump in.
So obviously, the big one here, I think, is Tapestries. With Wingspan, you remember when that was announced how hard it was to get that, combined with the fact that it has won the Spiel Award. Yeah, Kenner Spiel. So I'm sure a lot of people are going to be making sure they get on that. I'm not going to make the mistake and miss out again. But the game itself does sound really cool. I mean, this civilization building, it's one of those things we enjoy when you build something and have something at the very end. I'm curious how aggressive it can be, because they did mention, like, one of the things is warfare. One of the things your society can build up. And we've played Civ enough to know that someone can sort of just wipe you off the board.
Yeah, that's one that I think people were thinking it might be, it was going to be like a narrative game, almost like a Seventh Continent style thing, but turned out it was like a civilization building game. But definitely anytime there's a Stonemaier Games and one from Jamie Stegmaier, you know, who did Scythe, there's no way this isn't going to be huge. The design of it, I guess another one where we haven't seen too much of the actual rules yet.
Yeah.
But just looking at the buildings and even just the board it looks really nice. So I'm excited because, like as you mentioned, I've enjoyed Civilization games. They can also be very long and can be a little bit punishing if you're not, if you haven't.
It
don't
depends
have a lot of
how
experience.
aggressive, I think, is really what.
Yeah, so we'll see. But I mean, Scythe is a war game that I don't mind playing because it doesn't feel that aggressive. So I hope that it brings some of that mindset to this genre.
Well, I mean, we'll have to see what warfare means. It could just mean that.
Could literally be a track or something like that.
But there was other games we talked about too.
There sure were.
Expendable card game.
Yeah, Vampire
I was actually
Masquerade.
thinking because I'm like, well, now they have a legacy, now they have this. I'm like, if you're a fan of that series, you're not wanting.
Yeah, you are a happy person right now. But I just thought that was really interesting because I can't even think of outside of Doomtown as the big one. Oh, and Versus from Upper Deck, expandable card games that aren't Fantasy Flight releases.
I mean, there's those two. There's sort of the Pathfinder adventure card
Pathfinder.
grinder.
That's true.
There's a couple that I think hit Kickstarter every now and then that they say they're TCG, but really they are an ECG.
Right. But it's definitely
it's not as known because I think one, it's
hard.
spread out, and two, it's hard.
I think you have to have the resources to put out that many things that often.
Well, the resources and the world or whatever it is to fulfill
the lore that will actually, you can make more than one pack. So I'm very curious about that. Like they gave out no details at all, so we have a year still to wait. And then the Pandasaurus releases, both of those look really cool to me.
I'm curious about Wayfinder. I wasn't as hooked about it as much, but the silver and gold sounded really fun. And that just flipping and writing and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, flip and writes are, we love Welcome To, and it seemed like a different kind of, it wasn't just like you have a sheet, and your circling things seem different. Wayfinders, I just loved the look of it.
No, it looks pretty, but I mean, planes. Like gameplay, I'll have to see it more.
Yeah, that's fair. Puerto Rico, the deluxe one, that's an interesting one because I've seen some people saying that, they're kind of dressing this up as like a big new deluxe edition, but there's a European version of the game that is basically the same, and they also released a version of it not too long ago.
Yeah, they actually addressed that's the anniversary edition. That was limited print, and it came with some other weird stuff.
Right.
So this one is deluxe. It is designed that hypothetically, let's say there would be enough for people, and if there is a large demand, they will reprint. So it's much more like a regular release.
Yeah, so I think if you like games, you have some stuff to look forward to. As if you didn't have enough to already play, we have to talk about games that aren't even out yet. But Tapestry, all other than the Pandasaurus games and Puerto Rico, so that's half of them. The other ones, the release dates are still kind of up in the air, but Tapestry's the big one, so you're gonna have to stay tuned for that. But let us know in the comments, what are you looking forward to the most? You a vampire fan, you a big Stonemaier fan, or you looking forward to another version of Puerto Rico? Is this like your fifth one that you've bought? Talk to us in the comments section down below. And hope we'll see you again in the future. My name is Jonathan.
I'm Will.
This has been Roll for Crit.
Get an inspiration token by supporting us on Patreon and liking and subscribing to this channel.
If you support us on Patreon, you'll get access to our audio expansion podcast. It's so good.